Right, we're going to get started. Call the meeting to order. First is flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States. Roll call.
Ms. Bolenbacher.
Here.
Mr. Chandler. Here. Ms. Compatello is running late. Mr. Lavasser. Here. Mr. Marks. Here. Mr. Oliverio.
Here.
Mr. Radilla. Here. Mayor Perry.
Here.
Solicitor Corbel.
Here.
Engineer Harheen. Here. And then myself, we have a quorum.
Great. All right, so we have the consent agenda was on the OneDrive for everybody to review. That includes the approval of the minutes from May 26, 2022, and the bill list of June 9th, 2022. We have a motion to approve the June 9th, 2022 consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Second is Vince. All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussions? Sorry. Motion passes. Public comments on agenda items. At this time, citizens may address the Crafton Borough Council on any issue appearing on today's agenda. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Crafton will be permitted to address council. Comments on non-agenda items will be taken at the end of tonight's meeting. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before council, who may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Please sign in and or raise your hand on Zoom and state your name and physical address for the record. Do we have any space signed in? Okay. We'll just go in order here. Steve Pelkowitz. Pelchowski. Sorry. You can come up to the microphone there and just state your name and address.
Steve Palchowski. I live at 11 Bradford Avenue. I just want to introduce myself to council because you recently reappointed me to the zoning board. So it's all new council and I only know a couple of you. So I figure I'll come to this meeting. So I can maybe meet you and you can meet me so you know who I am. My other comment is for about the work on the road. I don't know if I should hold that till later in the meeting.
On which road? If it's on the agenda.
The Crafton Boulevard in Baldwick.
I believe that's on the agenda. So, yes, it is.
Yes, I get, because I live right around the corner from there. I own two properties on Crafton Boulevard, and it appears that yins are going to be putting some bump outs. And my opinion is, I know Doug's probably got numerous calls of these. They're going to be a traffic nightmare. When the school's in session, there was a lot of traffic around the block, especially since the school now they have their drop off in the rear of the building, and all these cars come down behind the school, up the alley, and they have to turn left or right. Now that you're putting a bump out, I own the property, which I think is great because the less people are going to hit my fence. But I think it's going to be a hindrance and there's going to be more accidents at that intersection. And also the intersection on what you've already done on the corner of Baldwick and Crafton Boulevard. Because over the years, there's a lot of accidents there. And living right there, we see them all the time. And that you're narrowing the road there. And from what I understand, there's future plans for another bump out on the other side of the street where you get. And it's just my opinion that I know that's going to be a traffic nightmare. And I don't see why you're pushing cars together when in the city they put these barriers in the middle of the street to push them apart. I know you want to slow the cars down, but either a stop sign or something safer than forcing the cars together where somebody's going to get sideswiped and hopefully nobody gets hurt or killed.
Do you want to address any comments? Yeah. Or as part of your report?
I mean, it's fine. Alberto Harkeen from Gateway Engineers. As far as the road, there's still going to be two 10-foot lanes, drive lanes. So we're not making the road narrower. And then we're going to have 8-foot parking lanes on either side. So again, we're not making the road narrow. It's still going to be a 36-foot wide road there.
But it is narrow where the bump outs are.
Narrow in what sense?
The road is narrow where the bump outs are. You go, you're doing a road and you have a bump out, so people have to pull out. And then you almost have to go to oncoming traffic in order to make a right turn going toward the school. And garbage trucks go down, there's at least 6 a week. Every
Yeah.
Sunday night, there's garbage trucks. And right now, they have to, when they get to the end of the alley, they have to back up and make 2 turns to make the right. So it's already.
Yeah, well, we're not doing any work in the back alleys, but
Yeah,
but
this-
as far as, yeah, but as far as on the roads, I mean, we do have turning templates, turning movements, and we also do have sight distance triangles, so we're not creating any obstructions with sight distance. So it's still the same maneuvers, just like we said,
I understand
calming
that,
traffic,
but
yeah.
It's a lot harder maneuver, especially when the weather's bad, it's rainy, and not everybody drives the speed limit or goes slow there. If you come by there in the morning, there's a lot of parents dropping their school off, and there's a stop sign actually behind my house in the alley. And I would say maybe 50% of the parents even stop at that stop sign. They just come around and I believe our police have better things to do than sit there directing traffic in front of the school in the morning, especially since typically, I believe we only have 2 officers on duty at a time. 2 cars out at a time, sometimes there's 3, but that's, and I'm sure there's other things, but other emergencies other than that. And the same thing, even if there is enough room, like you said, to make fence, but when the weather's bad or the fire trucks have to come down, if there's an emergency, that extra foot or 2 of room is a big difference to them when they're trying to get somewhere, whether instead of them trying to have to maneuver around the bend.
Point taken.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Next, we have Lisa Smith. Okay, for the end. Okay. And Reese Smith.
There we go. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Reese Smith. I'm a resident at 50 Walnut Street. And I want to talk about the fire inspection ordinance. So has there been like an epidemic of buildings catching on fire and burning down in Crafton now? I don't really see that this has become some massive issue that all of a sudden a lot of our houses and buildings and all that are a lot more unsafe than they were previously. This seems to be a solution in search of a problem that isn't really there. As well, this is important because it seems like it's going to be incredibly burdensome to a lot of citizens of Crafton, because we have to think, now they have to, this is just one more thing they have to think about in the general maintenance. It's just one more regulation and burden they have to overcome. As well, I want to talk about, like how it's going to be enforced. What if someone doesn't do it? Is there going to be a fine? How much is that fine for doing something that everyone went, such a long time without ever doing? So I think this is a mistake and unnecessary for us to do, and I would urge you all not to pass it. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else raising their hand on Zoom? Okay. All right. President's report. All I have to report. At the last meeting, we had mentioned about having a strategy session, obviously open to the public. We're waiting for the organizational assessment to be complete. That was sent as per the RFP to me on Saturday night. So I haven't had a chance to review it, but Doug and I are meeting tomorrow to look at potential facilitators, what would be a good date, and then be able to send it out to everybody that would work with the public and also with all of council so that we could have a session. I think we agreed before an evening session and maybe 1 or 2. We'll see how long it takes. But this again was a suggestion from a council member and a really good idea to talk about setting objectives for the next year, 2 years, 4 years down the road for overall goals for the borough to achieve. That's all I have to report. Mayor's report.
Nothing tonight.
Okay, thank you. Engineers report. Alberto.
No change from the report that was issued.
Okay. Solicitors report. Nothing to report. Okay. Managers report.
There will be an got close there. An executive session on real estate matter after the meeting. And then I've submitted my written report, but just an update. There was a question on the LED conversion program that Duquesne Light had been running for probably the past 10 years. They have actually eliminated that program, and they are themselves going to be retrofitting all the sodium lights with the LEDs over the next 5 years.
Great.
And I'm still on the gas company about the two sidewalk repairs at Steuben and West Crafton.
Great. Thank you. All right. Standing committees, finance and administration, Ms. Berry.
So the police report is ongoing. Chief Metten has all of the information that he's asked for. He's asked a few questions and is processing. We expect to have something pretty soon from him. And I think that you mentioned the operation.
Yes. Okay. Anything else?
I don't think there's anything else.
Great. Okay, Ms. Compatellos for Community Services and Infrastructure. We'll skip that one until she gets here. And go to Communications, Recreation, Community Events. Mr. Marks.
Yes, we had a successful vendor and car cruise this past weekend on Saturday. Thanks for everyone coming out. Anyone who, all the vendors that came out, everybody who came out and participated. We had a late rush of car registrations, so we had a pretty packed lot there on Afton and a lot of cool rides. Congrats to the winner. I forget his name, but it was but he got like a gift card from Rock Auto or something. So thanks for everyone for coming out. Upcoming, so we have announced, it's out on Savvy Citizen, the 4th of July celebration and fireworks. It's going to be kicking off at 7 with fireworks starting sometime around 9:30 with a little bit of variance. So yeah, check out Savvy Citizen. Make sure you come out for the 4th. The only other update I had was the next newsletter, right? We're aiming for early October for it to hit mailboxes. So we're going to be soliciting the community for content in July with content due by August so that we can get it edited by September and in your mailbox by October. That's it.
Great. Commission vacancies, Mr. Chandler.
Not much to report tonight, other than I have a motion on the table to appoint Vincent Radilla to the Planning Commission for a 4-year term set to expire on April 13th of 2026.
So moved.
Okay, so Aaron Colton, you made the motion. Okay, so Colton made it. Aaron second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. And do you know which positions we still have open?
Off the top of my head, I do not. I do not have my other phone with me. My head, but I'll have to get back to us at the next meeting.
Is it zoning alternate library
Yes, I believe we have one in the library, one zoning alternate seat.
and
Oh,
two
you got it.
recreation?
Oh, you got it. Okay.
I'm sorry, what was
And
the
two recreation coming in September.
Yes, 2 recreation coming in September.
So again, for the community, those openings again are zoning, 2 recreation in September, and library board. So we definitely want to get those positions filled. And again, this committee has done a great job in filling all those open seats. So if anybody's interested, please apply online. Right, Council of Government, Mr. Radilla.
All right, so next Thursday is the next meeting. It is their annual summer luau meeting, I guess. So If anyone wants to join me, please do. It's in Carnegie, so it's really close. You're in? Perfect. All right.
Yes, this is for the next meeting and this comes from the COG.
Sure. So there will be a public hearing regarding the cable franchise renewal that will take place on June 23rd, 2022 at 7:15 at the Borough Building located at 140 Bradford Avenue, Pittsburgh, PA 15205. Citizens are invited to testify. The purpose of the public hearing is to review the past performance of the cable operator, Comcast, and to identify future cable-related community needs for the borough. That is all. Thank you.
Great. All right.
Just two quick items.
Go
Well,
ahead,
Ms.
yeah.
Compatello arrived at 7:30. And just for council's edification, I have not received a call in my year and a half here, 2 years. I forget what it's been, but concerning the cable franchise, there's been no problems with the Comcast and our residents. So
And that meeting will occur right at the start of our council meeting in 2 weeks.
I have a question about that. With regards to the telecommunication poles, some of them are owned by Verizon, some of them are owned by Duquesne Light. My question is, does Comcast own any of the hard infrastructure outside of the lines that are hanging from them? Because we do have an issue with Verizon and the maintenance of some of their poles throughout the municipality. And, you know, Duquesne's been doing a lot of the heavy lifting, but some of them in the alleys are owned by Verizon. And I was just curious if the same is with Comcast and make sure that maintenance of that infrastructure is being up to date.
usually what we get, they don't own any actual physical poles. What we usually get is if there's a line that's cut or something, they'll wrap it up and just leave it dangling there. But I have not had that complaint or have seen that complaint here. So they are actually doing a pretty good job.
So some of those issues with the poles, we just need to maintain pressure on Verizon to update their infrastructure because they're running the old Bell telecom poles, which are, some of them are over 60, 70 years old in this borough.
All right. Okay, we're going to do community services and infrastructure. Ms. Compatello.
Sure. So the first item on the agenda is the fire inspection ordinance. This has been presented in previous meetings. The ordinance requires each commercial, multifamily, 3 or more units, assembly, churches, industrial and institutional, such as group homes, to pay for an annual inspection to identify and mitigate potential fire hazards. The ordinance will be advertised on June 9th and voted on at the June 23rd council meeting. So this is just a general announcement for awareness that the ordinance is being updated and will be presented for vote on June 23rd.
Ms. Compatello, there was a resident prior to you getting here that expressed their concern with this ordinance because they feel like it would be a burden. And I believe it was directed towards residents.
Anyone who owns property that it will be projected to them.
Okay.
And it will make it very tough for property owners to disincentivize property ownership.
Okay, thank you for that clarity.
The ordinance update is directed at properties that are for commercial or multifamily. And we are trying to make sure that it's manageable for all property owners, but we are also trying to make sure that it's in alignment with general good practices and best practices for safety for properties. And we want to make sure that all properties within the borough are maintaining, good safety measures that bring them into alignment with general best practices. We want to make sure that residents in the borough are safe and are in properties that are maintained according to general best practices. I'll defer to the Public Works Department on this because they are referring to general best practices for fire inspection ordinances. And we want to make sure that we don't have issues with fire hazards in the borough.
And this is going to require an inspection on an annual basis for any of the multifamily units, rentals, or businesses related to fire. And we did have a fire on Belvedere. It was 2 months ago. Yeah, just a couple months ago. And it was, related to not having the right safety inspections. This wasn't put in place due to that. However, obviously we want to have best practices, and I believe that place was not inspected.
That's
for
correct. The
several-
last inspection had been in like 2008, 2009.
Mhm.
And the other thing to emphasize is this is actually just an update to an ordinance that was passed several years ago.
Yes.
Yes, and again, for multi-family, so all of the single family homes are not subject to this.
And what's the rate?
It was every 2 years, and the program was getting off the ground, and the fire department and the building code inspector that we hired requested these updates.
Yeah, what we could do is at the end of the meeting, you can provide some comments so that's not going back and forth. Same with you, Steve. Okay, is that good? All right.
Right, so moving on, the multi-municipal zoning project update. The zoning project is moving forward. From what I understand, Ingram is planning to approve the contract this week. So we should have updates this week, and that contract should be approved by our partner municipality. There is a walkthrough that's been discussed for the 20th of June. But all of that is pending the contract approval by Ingram this week. So I don't have any other updates until Ingram approves that contract. Crafton has previously already signed the contract. Is that correct, Doug?
Correct.
Right, so we have signed the contract and Ingram is planning to sign it this week. So we have a zoning consultant that is ready to go as soon as that contract is signed. The Crafton Boulevard separation project update, that's also just a general update. Construction is underway on Crafton Boulevard. It is definitely a change in the existing traffic pattern. The road is being narrowed for safety purposes. We have had some concerns and comments from residents that have commented on the change in the traffic pattern in that area, but it is being changed because of safety concerns near the school to make the street safer, to slow down traffic at that area. And it has all been tested rigorously with the engineers. They've verified that it's in accordance with engineering standards. That construction will be continuing for the next few months. Do we have any other updates to add?
Engineer, do you have any?
Just as far as construction, they've done the southern side of Crafton Boulevard streetscape. They're going to move on to the other side, the school side. And I met with the contractor today. There's definitely plans. We will have the school parking lot completed by August. So the project for the most part will be completed by August with some minor restoration. I did ask him to do the landscaping installation, early fall, not in August. We don't want to be planting trees and shrubs in August and have him be responsible for watering these for the next few months. So we will get the curbing and sidewalk installed here in the next, upcoming weeks along Crafton Boulevard on the other side, do the parking lot, and then early fall, we'll do all the final restoration.
We understand that while that project is ongoing, it is a change in the traffic pattern. We ask that all residents be extra aware of the construction that's ongoing on Crafton Boulevard. The final item is the Broadhead Sewer Separation Project update, which is for Mr. Lavasser.
Thank you, Ms. Combadello. Concerning the Broadhead Sewer Separation Project, this is a monumental project for the center of the town, composing over 6 streets. And we've asked the engineer to do an inflation adjustment. The total GROW grant application for funding is $7,855,485.50. And Alcoasand is projected to fund 85% with the economics that are being presented to them. We also put in an earmark through Connor Lamb's office, and maybe we'll be successful in acquiring upwards to $1 million through the federal government if that earmark is awarded. However, if we're not, we're on. Hello, okay. We are budgeting $1,178,322.83 to be the borough's 15% cost share. And again, these funds have been appropriately budgeted for. They were part of the bond prospect sheet that we put together. And this has been a project that's been in the pipeline literally for 3 to 4 years. This is our second round through the application process. So it's been quite rigorous. And Alcoasand is very excited about this because this is going to have quite the impact on the combined sewer overflow. So it's our job to try to do our fair share to clean up Chartiers Creek and the region's waterway. So hopefully we'll be awarded this cycle. And as we know, we all signed into the consent agreements, and there will be a lot more competition in the following cycles. So I really do hope that the borough can be awarded this project, and we can continue on with the restoration of several streets in the core of our municipality. Thank you.
What are the streets that will be also impacted by this?
Cornell Park, Warren, Coulter, North Emily. Did I miss any? There's an alley. Warren. So these are complete reconstructions. Park is a complete reconstruction from North Emily all the way down to Broadhead. So very exciting for any of you that live near Park or on Park. As you know, that is a road that is in desperate need of replacement. So again, these Belvedere is going to be 3/4 replaced, and there's going to be future discussion on Belvedere about the future of the rest of that street and how that looks. So there's a lot of good that will come out of these programs. As we've been discussing, our job is to try to put in the stormwater infrastructure, but to build back the service in a way that will service our neighborhoods and bring value to all of us for current and future generations.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, sorry. I move to adopt resolution 2022-18 seeking grant funding under Alcoasand's GROW program to fund projects to reduce sewer overflows at the Alcoasand POC C22 sewer shed.
So moved, or second.
Second is Mr. Marks. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, community announcements. Upcoming council meeting is next 2 weeks from now, June 23rd at 7:15. Again, we will have the Comcast hearing right at the beginning of that meeting. Crafton Borough will be celebrating, as Mr. Marks had mentioned, Independence Day at Crafton Park on Monday, July 4th, starting at 7. There will be food trucks, live music, and fireworks will all be a part of those festivities. The Crafton Mini Golf will be opening starting tomorrow on Fridays and Saturdays each week from 7 to 9 throughout the summer. Cost is $2 to play per person. They're out there cleaning it out right now, so it should be good to go for tomorrow. Seasonal pool pass memberships are now on sale. Please go to the website, Crafton Borough website, to complete the pre-application. Pool memberships can be picked up at the borough office Monday through Friday from 9 to 4. Questions can be directed to the administrative office at the borough phone number. Anybody have any additional items to discuss on these community events? All right. Public comment at this time. Citizens may address the Crafton Borough on any issue. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Crafton will be permitted to address the council. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before the council, who may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. please sign in if you haven't, or raise your hand on Zoom, or if you're here in person, and state your name, physical address for the record. So we'll start with the folks here in person, and Lisa, we'll start with you first, and then we'll do Stephen and Reese. Or, sorry, not Reese, but Stephen.
Still blue. There, it's green. Sorry, my name is Lisa Smith. I wanted to talk about the traffic at Crafton Boulevard. I have a Monarch shirt on. I just got off work. I do drive for Monarch, but I am in no way speaking for Monarch or anything. I'm speaking for me. I know that you guys a lot of times don't like to get involved with anything that has to do with the school district, but this not only has to do with the district, it has to do with all the residents, and I am a resident here. We have a real problem at that school in the morning with parents being where they're not supposed to be, the buses not being able to pull in. A lot of times I have to pull just right in the middle of the street, stop my bus, turn the reds on, and stop traffic altogether to get the kids into the school. Technically, they're not really doing anything illegal. It says no parking. They're not technically parking, they're stopped, but they're not supposed to be there. The solution was supposed to be to station an officer out there to move the parents along. I'm not saying anything about our police, but the police really, they're not moving them along. They're not supposed to be parked on the other side of the street. They are. Kids are darting back and forth. They're darting in between buses. I know it's the end of the school year. What I'm hoping for is to try and talk to people about what we can do so that we don't have this problem next year. Somebody's going to get hurt. I mean, that's my big fear. These kids are darting back and forth. There's a lot of blind spots in my bus. I look real hard, but heaven forbid the day that I don't see a kid where they're supposed to be. I know that a lot of this is COVID. Parents don't want their kids on the buses, so they're taking them and they don't want to sit in that traffic going around the back end of the school. So they're just parking up front. I don't know what can be done about it. I just know that something needs to be done about it. I know I'm willing to work with people, talk to people, but we need to do something because it's dangerous and it's not fair to all the other residents that need to drive up and down Crafton Boulevard.
So basically, this is a public safety issue. It's an issue that has to do with our police department. And as mayor, it's my responsibility to help with this situation. So let's make sure that we meet. I'll be talking to the chief. One of the biggest issues is that at the time that school is coming in, often the only person on duty is the chief. And I know he's up there most mornings, but we'll definitely have to see what we can do and maybe have some meetings through the course of the summer to see if we can change the scheduling some. I'll put a little piece in here. This one of the reasons we only have one officer in the morning is because of the limitations of scheduling, because of the number of officers we do have.
And I understand.
Yeah, so.
That's an issue.
Yeah, so, and I know that I think you were going to say something, Ms. Capitello, about some plans.
Yes, we have also met with the school district just this past week, actually. That portion of Crafton Boulevard is one of the next sections of Crafton Boulevard to be redone. And one of the ideas that we have been looking at is to try to redo the street to make it safer. We have met with the school to try to figure out how we can make it safer for not only the drivers, but also the school children. I myself have children at that school. And it is acknowledged that that is a dangerous situation, that people let their school children out in the middle of the street. We do not have a good place for people to let kids out. There is a designated place in the back of the school, but it is overloaded. And so we have met with the school to try to figure out how we can reconstruct the street in a way that's better and provides more space for the buses, as well as for parents who are dropping off their kids and parents who are walking up their children. So this is a known problem, and it's something that we're looking into addressing.
Lisa, thank you for volunteering for the zoning committee. We appreciate it. All right, thank you. I wasn't checking on that. And Stephen also, thank you. But you're up next, Stephen.
My comment. This is back to the fire inspection when you were talking about it. Now, currently, we do an occupancy inspection between tenants. So if I get an occupancy inspection, because I own a 4-unit building, so when I do that, can everything be done at one time? So I don't have to go into my tenant's apartment on numerous occasions, because I try not to go into a tenant's apartment unless they're home. I don't like invading their spaces. I don't think anybody here would like somebody just showing up and going into their house. So you were talking about I think the inspections isn't a bad thing, but the problem is the inspector would have to go into somebody's house or space.
It's
So-
only the, I'm sorry, it's only the common areas.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, because right now my insurance company comes in, they go through the common areas, the building inspector, when I give an occupancy, so he gives his input and I try to cooperate. So that was my question. But if the building, is it gonna be a different inspector or it's gonna be the same inspector as the occupancy? So if he comes in and does a recent occupancy inspection, he won't have to come back and do a separate one for the fire.
We will work with the individual property owners. Yes, this is not to be a burden.
No, I've
Yeah.
never had any problems with the inspectors in the past. I try to cooperate with them and usually I'm on good terms with them as far as because I try to keep everything maintained. But I didn't know, like the way it was said, I didn't know you have to go into a tenant's apartment. If a tenant has all kind of clothes piled up and it's a fire hazard, what can I do as a landlord about it?
Yeah, just the common areas. But yes, we will coordinate the scheduling of
There's no double inspections the same year.
Bingo.
Thank you.
Thank you. Reese?
This turns off very easily. This is not about the fire inspection, but this is I'd like to add my list of the people that would like to speak out against what's been going on Crafton Boulevard with the installation of the bump outs. I know the cool new urban planning trend is to make roads more narrow so cars slow down, so it's safer. But it creates, like was discussed earlier, it creates more traffic. It's annoying for everyone involved. It creates a hazard of crashes and all that. As well, I think if you would talk to the majority of Crafton residents, they would not be happy with this thing. I have not met anyone who's happy with the bump outs. Everyone's pretty frustrated with them all. I'm just kind of curious, where was the idea to install bump outs formulated from?
Where was it formulated from? That was a multi-level, it's a multi-level question, but there was a planning commission session that was held about 2 years ago that looked specifically at that area and looked at issues around safety and around speed along that corridor in front of the school. And there was a workshop that was held that was open to the public that discussed ways to make the area safer and slow down traffic. And that was one of the ideas that came out of that session that was held again publicly, which was to narrow the street to make it more in alignment with safer speeds and best practices for slowing down speed around school districts.
Proposed it, you guys all approved it.
It was prior council.
Yeah.
Yes, council. did, Yeah. Council. Yeah.
May I interject?
Absolutely.
So this project or problem was identified through the comprehensive plan. Actually, it goes all the way back to 2017 when a number of residents came to a planning session through the comprehensive plan and identified mobility and pedestrian safety. And that area was a top priority for most everybody that attended. And so we had numerous workshops, and these problems have been identified and priorities identified through the comprehensive plan. And then through the planning commission, we've been charged with trying to, figure out means of, funding different ways of, achieving the objectives of, pedestrian safety. And so through the planning commission and through our work with our engineer, solutions were proposed, to the planning commission, reviewed in public sessions, at the planning commission and at meetings just like this, over a number of years now. And so, as Ms. Compatello has really communicated to the public the idea of change and managing the change and trying to go through the priority, and the number one priority is the pedestrian safety in that corridor, especially given we have a keystone of our community. Crafton Elementary is right there. And so we understand that the change is going to be, different. But as somebody that, is sending children to that school, and somebody that it really finds that intersection at Bradford and Crafton Boulevard to be extremely dangerous and unusual. I'm not from Western Pennsylvania, and I will say that is one of the most dangerous intersections I have ever experienced in my entire life. And I will say, I think the due diligence that has been put before you as a citizen has been comprehensive, but it needs to take into all the lines of evidence, which is change is going to be difficult, but the overall benefit is, yes, people are going to have to move slower. We're going to have to identify that large vehicles should not be traveling through that area if they're not local deliveries. That's something that's very important to us. At Bradford and Crafton Boulevard, a person died there because of unsafe pedestrian conditions. So, I understand that you're in a line of a number of residents that are shocked by the new design. And for me, it is something that is interesting to see, go from paper to pavement. And I'm there right with you, experiencing the change and feeling, what it now feels like to go through that area. And I know one of the things that's sort of throwing people off right now is all the cones and the equipment. But once it's restored fully and you see that you have just as much room as you did before, and one of the things that the fire department brought up has been navigation for the fire vehicles. People used to park nearly on the corner, all right? The bump outs actually allow the fire trucks to navigate safely. And they too are concerned about the change. But the point is that we have gone through a lot of engineering studies, and actually the engineers led the way on the design. It wasn't any member of council, any member of a planning commission that said, do it this one way. It was really based off of fundamentals of engineering and best practices. And so we are all going to have to see how the change progresses. And I just ask for your patience. And if it doesn't work out and this turns out to be not a good idea, we can revisit and make changes. But I say, have some patience, work through the process with us. It's going to be, a change for us all to get used to the new environment, because a lot of you who have been born and raised here are used to that intersection. But if you're coming from out of town, it's a very, very unusual situation. And every engineer that we have had review that intersection have discussed how unusual it really is. So again, I've been long-winded on this, but I understand your frustration. The planning commission has done due diligence, and really it's been in the hands of the engineers. So again, I appreciate you coming out, and just thank you for your patience.
Can I add something too? And then as far as the bump outs, like the bump outs aren't eliminating any off-street parking. The bump outs are in areas where people aren't allowed to park anyways. So it's just those areas that are kind of, the yellow striped curbs. We put the bump outs there. And also it's beautifying that corridor. You're going to have landscaped areas, shrubs, trees, decorative lights through there. So that whole corridor is going to be, instead of just seeing all pavement and that's it, you're going to have nice new curbs, landscaped areas. We're going to control the stormwater with new inlets that we put through there that are all going to go down to the tank instead of going in a combined system. And then, you have trees, landscaping, new sidewalks. So.
Thank you, Reese, for coming forward too. We appreciate that. All right. Do we have anybody else on Zoom who would like to address council? None?
Can I have one more thing? We had a walk today with the contractor for the Woodlawn and Broadhead project. I'm sorry, the Woodlawn and Fountain project.
Mhm.
And I know there's some concerns about when they're going to come back to finish paving. He will be here next week.
Okay.
He'll finish the paving for the Woodlawn project, and then he's going to do the restoration. So that project will be completed here in the next couple of weeks.
All right, that's great. Thank you. All right. Anything else for the good of council? All right. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll ask council just to stay.